Hello everyone, welcome to Angina pectoris lecture series part 2. In the last class we have seen what is angina pectoris. It is nothing but chest pain. This pain is a symptom of an underlying disease. The reason why the pain occurs is it is ischemia. Ischemia means reduced blood supply to heart. When heart has got reduced blood supply, it gives a symptom as pain. This pain is also known as referred pain. Referred pain means it radiates to neck and jaw region, and also it radiates to left shoulder and left palm. If this continues, it results in myocardial infarction. Infarction means complete loss of blood supply that results in necrosis. If myocardial necrosis occurs, that results in heart attack. The pathophysiology of this angina pectoris and the brief drug classes used to treat we have seen in the last class. Today we will see the treatment of angina pectoris in detail. Now, in angina pectoris treatment we have two different types are there. One mechanotherapy, second one pharmacotherapy. Mechanotherapy is by surgical intervention like coronary artery bypass surgery and angioplasty with stent deployment. Whereas in case of pharmacotherapy, you have drug classes like nitrovasodilators, beta blockers, calcium channel blockers, antiplatelets with statins and some other miscellaneous drugs. We will see briefly what is this mechanotherapy is. Now in this mechanotherapy you have coronary artery bypass surgery, which is commonly known as bypass surgery, and the other one is stent deployment with angioplasty. We will see these procedures briefly. Now look at this diagram. This process is coronary artery bypass surgery. Before doing that surgery, this is how the heart appears. Imagine this part of the heart has got reduced blood supply. That is why it is depicted as a light blue in color. The reason why it has got reduced blood supply is atherosclerosis. The coronary artery is blocked by this lipid accumulation. When that lipid accumulation is there, blood supply is inhibited. So reduced amount of blood reaches to this region, and that is why it gets ischemic condition, and that gives in angina pain. Now in coronary artery bypass surgery, this is what is done. To this area, when coronary artery is blocked, a bypass graft is inserted directly from this aorta to the affected region. You can see this one, this is called as bypass graft. This is nothing but a vein which is extracted from legs, and it is placed between the affected area and aorta. From aorta directly the blood reaches to this affected region and the blood supply increases. This is called as coronary artery bypass surgery. Technically this is also known as coronary artery bypass graft, because you are bypassing the pathway. The affected coronary artery path is bypassed with this new graft, and the region gets blood directly from this aorta. Hence it is known as coronary artery bypass graft. So this is the process. Now the next one is angioplasty. Look at this. Again, this one is another coronary artery which is blocked because of lipid accumulation. Now in this method, a catheter is inserted to this affected coronary artery. It is called stent with balloon inserted into the blocked artery. This is called a stent, and this is called a stent. This along with a balloon is inserted. Now once it is inside, the balloon is blown so that the diameter of this is increased, and these lipid layers are pushed towards the end of the blood vessel. Balloon inflated to expand stent. Once the stent is expanded, the balloon is removed and the stent remains inside. This is nothing but stent. The stent is made up of a stainless steel metal which increases the diameter of blood vessel, and the lipids are pushed towards the walls of blood vessel. So this is what happens in angioplasty and stent placement. So these two are popular mechanotherapic methods of angina pectoris treatment. Now let us see pharmacotherapy. Now in pharmacotherapy, the first class is nitrovasodilators. Now HNO3 is nothing but nitric acid. Now when this nitric acid is attached to organic molecules like carbon, the bonding becomes like this, and these are known as organic nitrates. Whenever you see this carbon compound, it becomes an organic molecule. Hence, the nitric acid is attached to carbon atom. They are called as organic nitrates. Whereas HNO2 is known as nitrous acid. When nitrous acid is attached with the organic molecule, they are known as organic nitrites. So, these organic nitrates and nitrites are called nitrovasodilators. Now, both the classes organic nitrates and organic nitrates, both of them has got similar mechanism of action. Both of them, they are prodrugs. They need bioactivation. Once these drugs are taken, they release nitric oxide. Now, this nitric oxide causes vasodilation. How it happens? Let us see this mechanism. Now, let me remind you one more thing. This nitric oxide can be synthesized in human body also. This is synthesized by an enzyme called nitric oxide synthase. Now, this synthesis occurs in endothelial cells. Look at the diagram here. Now, this nitric oxide is synthesized from arginine. Arginine is an amino acid. In the presence of an enzyme, endothelial nitric oxide synthase. Arginine is converted to nitric oxide. At the same time, it also releases citrulline. So, arginine is converted to citrulline and nitric oxide. This nitric oxide gets here, and that nitric oxide activates guanyl cyclase. Guanyl cyclase is an enzyme which converts GTP to cyclic GMP. Cyclic GMP causes blood vessel relaxation. How it causes? It inactivates myosin light chain. See, myosin and actin in combination causes contraction. This myosin is inactivated by cyclic GMP. If myosin is inactivated, contraction will not occur and it causes relaxation. Let me repeat this again. In human body, arginine is converted to nitric oxide. Nitric oxide activates guanyl cyclase. The job of guanyl cyclase is it converts GTP to cyclic GMP. Cyclic GMP inactivates myosin light chain. If myosin light chain is inactivated, it causes relaxation. So, this is what is the mechanism of action of all nitrovasodilators. Now, in case of organic nitrovasodilators, they are selective to veins. It means they prominently cause venodilation. See, they are commonly known as vasodilators. Vaso means you have veins as well as arteries. But these drugs are selective towards veins. In higher doses, they will also dilate arteries. So, prominently they are called as venodilators. What is the effect of this venodilation? To understand this effect of venodilation, you need to know a little bit of cardiac physiology. So, this is the block diagram of heart. This side is right side wherein you have deoxygenated blood is there. This side is left side wherein you have oxygenated blood is there. So, whatever the veins are there, the body veins, all of them will collect deoxygenated blood and gets into heart from here. This is nothing but vena cava. Superior vena cava and inferior vena cava. Both of these vena cavas will bring back deoxygenated blood to right side of this heart. Once it gets inside, all the blood will get accumulated here. From here, it goes to lungs. In the lungs, gases exchange occur, oxygen gets into the blood, and from there, they reaches to this. The pulmonary veins get the oxygenated blood into left part of the heart, wherein you have oxygenated blood is there. During systole, this oxygenated blood comes out of this heart by aorta. Now, as I told you, organic vasodilators especially cause venodilation. That means these veins are dilated. So, diameter of these veins increases. If the vein diameter is increased, what happens? The blood reaching from the bottom could not pump upside. So, the amount of blood reaches to this part reduces. That means the amount of blood accumulated inside this right heart reduces. Reduced blood amount in this part is nothing but reducing preload. That means before contraction, the amount of blood present in heart is reduced. Why this is reducing? Because veins are dilating. When veins are dilating, blood going towards the heart from the bottom will get reduced, because when the diameter is increased, blood cannot pump efficiently against the gravity. So, this reduces preload. Reducing preload is nothing but reducing oxygen demand. When the oxygen demand is reduced, It is nothing but you are treating angina pectoris. Now, when you come to the drugs, the first important drug is glyceryl trinitrate. This is also known as nitroglycerin. Nitroglycerin. Now, nitroglycerin, you can see it is a derivative of nitric acid. So, it is known as nitrate, glyceryl trinitrate. See, from glycerol, 3 of the nitrate moieties are attached, hence it is known as glycerol trinitrate. IUPAC name is 1,2,3-trinitroxypropane. Now, glyceryl trinitrate is an excellent drug to treat acute angina attacks. Acute, if someone gets severe sudden chest pain, immediately glyceryl trinitrate is placed sublingually. Sublingual means under the tongue. Sublingual means under the tongue. When it is placed under the tongue, the action is seen within 2 minutes. That means the onset of action is 2 minutes. Within 2 minutes, the blood vessel dilation occurs and oxygen demand reduces and the condition is relieved. Its duration of action is around 25 minutes. So, for acute anginal attacks, this is the best known drug. The 2 other important drugs are isosorbide dinitrate and isosorbide mononitrate. Mononitrate has got only 1 nitrate moiety, hence it is known as mononitrate. Dinitrate has got 2 nitrate moieties, hence it is known as dinitrate. In case of isosorbide dinitrate, the onset is within 5 minutes. So, when the sublingual drug is placed inside the trunk, within 5 minutes it shows its action, and the duration of action is 60 minutes. The action will be there for 1 hour. In case of isocyanate mononitrate, usually it is used as oral drug, not sublingual. The reason is onset is 30 minutes. It takes longer time to show its action, but duration is around 12 to 20 hours. So, for acute cases, only glyceryl trinitrate or nitroglycerin and isosorbide dinitrate are used because their onset is shorter. In case of glyceryl trinitrate, it is only 2 minutes. In case of isosorbide dinitrate, it is 5 minutes. These 3 are the important clinically used drugs. Now, after that, getting back to adverse effects, see, all these drugs, the major problem is they cause vasodilation, and because of that vasodilation, headache will occur, which also causes dizziness and weakness. The major drawback with continuous use of organic nitrates is tolerance. That means you need larger amount of dose to get the similar therapeutic action if you continue to use this. That is the reason why they should not be used continuously. There should be some breaking time to separate the doses. Now, the other problem with this, see, organic nitrovasodilators are contraindicated with phosphodiesterase 5 inhibitors. Now, you need to understand the reason for this. Look at this diagram. Now, you can see cyclic GMP is metabolized by phosphodiesterase enzyme. This enzyme converts cyclic GMP to ZMP. What is the effect of cyclic GMP? To cause relaxation. Now, sildenafil is a drug which inhibits phosphodiesterase. So, sildenafil is phosphodiesterase inhibitor. Drugs like this will decrease the metabolism of cyclic GMP. That means they are increasing the levels of cyclic GMP. If these drugs are used with nitrates or nitrites, profuse hypotension occurs because there is a lot of relaxation in blood vessels. So, to avoid this profuse hypotension, these drugs should not be used together. Hence, nitrovasodilators are contraindicated with phosphodiesterase 5 inhibitors. So, this is about nitrovasodilators. In the next class, we will see about beta blockers.